Let's talk all about AI in business. It's hosted by Brent Muller. Welcome to the Future Proof Podcast.
Hi, and welcome to the latest episode of the Future Proof Podcast. I'm your host, Brent Muller. And for today's episode, we have an exciting guest coming on. And for those of you just joining the podcast, we're a B2B SaaS growth company, and we specialize in helping companies scale their revenue using AI. So if you want to learn, how to take your business to the next level, make sure you stick around. Or if you're interested in a growth consult with us, just drop the word growth in the comments or DM us and we'll get there. But let's jump into today's episode. So we are joined today by Steve Dahl from D2D Technologies. Steve, thank you for joining and spending some time with us.
You're welcome, Brent. Happy to be here and looking forward to spending some time chatting with you about the latest in business and technology.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's start like we always do on the podcast is let's talk about your background and your kind of career journey leading you up to D2D.
Sure. We're going to go way back, probably like 35 years ago. It's probably where the first thing is I joined the Navy out of high school. And one of the things that really taught me a strong work ethic. And just really taught me, a lot about just being an adult. And that kind of sort of just got my whole adulthood kind of started. And once I kind of did a tour in the Navy, I got out and started working at a oceanfront resort here in the Jacksonville, Florida area, and put myself through college. And one of the things I really learned there is about customer service, because no matter how hard you try, things are going to happen. And the best way to handle that is to really take ownership and do whatever you can to kind of meet what issue the customer's having. And I've actually found out in a lot of cases after going through that, if you really take ownership, take responsibility, you end up with a stronger relationship with that customer having gone through that experience. And then, so once I got my degree, I started working at a small technology firm here in Jacksonville, kind of in the industry that I'm currently in now. And I had the opportunity there to work with some amazing engineers who really taught me the business, how to be a good engineer, just really taught the technology of the industry. And I really owe a lot to those engineers for helping mold who I am today. But after about 7 years, as I was saying, it's a small company and I was working for the owners. I didn't really see a whole lot of upward mobility. So at that point, I took the first big risk in my career and left to join a startup, and it did not go well. I remember it was like November 1st of that year that I left. And then I went to, around Thanksgiving time that year. And I got a call from the guy who had kind of told me about this startup. He said, "Hey, we're out here at the head office in Reno, and the company really doesn't have any money. You're better off being a consultant." Like, okay, I just left my nice, comfy job. And thankfully, I left on really good terms. So I kind of went back, started working kind of some part-time as a consultant with the company I'd left. And another gentleman who was in the same startup with me, we started kind of doing consulting for other people as well. And we'd sort of pass work back and forth. And after about a few years, we started saying, why are we designing things for other people? We should design our own products. And that's when we decided to form D2D.
Wow. So, so talk to me about D2D. Just for the audience out there, what D2D does, what you guys specialize in, what your vision for this company.
Sure. D2D, a little bit back. So it stands for design to deliver. So we want to deliver products which really deliver on their promise of what they're going to do. And it really kind of rolls all into our whole marketing as well, that a lot of our product names will be like D2 Guide, Future Alert, which is design the guide, design the alert. We really want to focus on delivering what we promise and what the customer needs. And to give you a little bit about what we do. So from a technology standpoint, we design and manufacture equipment which is used for transporting digital video from TV stations to transmitters or to the cable plant. But what we really like to think more about it is we make connections. And a couple examples are the local news. So we help get the local news out to the viewers and gives them an idea of what's going on in the community, of what's going on with the weather. So really just keeping the community up to date. And another way we connect with communities and people is through emergency alerts. So we were selected through a FEMA grant to design and implement the backup to the wireless emergency alert system. So the way this typically works, so if there's some sort of emergency, FEMA, local law enforcement, they will send the alert messages to the sort of your cell phone providers, your AT&Ts, your Verizons. And once they get that, they will then distribute to whatever cell phones need to get the message in that area. But the question is, what happens if the hurricane, active terrorism, that the internet goes down? How do the messages get out and inform the community of these emergency situations? And that's where we came in and worked with the PBS member stations all around the country, and we designed a system where the alert messages will also go to the PBS satellite uplink, and from there they'll go by satellite out to every PBS TV station around the country. In each location, we will pull the alert message out of the satellite stream and then inject it into the PBS TV stations over the air stream or over the air broadcast, television broadcast, and the wireless carriers then will have special receivers which can pick that up, know it's there, extract it, and then get it out to the cell phones in that area. So in the event that the internet goes down, the wireless emergency alert messages will still get out to your phone. So that's kind of a couple different ways that we try and connect communities.
Very, very, very cool. And so I also noticed that you have something called D2 Flex. So is that something similar or?
Correct. D2 Flex is one of our hardware products, and that's one of the units which actually involves us. And a lot of times where we use D2 Flex at that particular product is we'll work with a broadcaster who will have transmitter sites all around the country. And a lot of times these are unmanned sites. They're just a transmitter, a lot of times just out in the middle of nowhere. And what our product allows us to do is in one instance, they're headquartered in Detroit, and that's where their NOC, their operations center is. And the way this used to be done is all through dedicated fiber or satellite, which is very expensive. What we've been able to do with the Flex line of products is use a streaming protocol called SRT for Secure Reliable Transport, which allows us to send broadcast quality video streams over the public internet. So we can, from the central location in Detroit, send this programming out to 80 TV stations around the country. And once we receive it, the Flex product can add emergency alert information, handle guide information, and it'll also what we call rebrand the stream for that location. So if you're sending the same stream to 80 locations, well, each location is going to have different TV call letters, different channel number, and we can make all those modifications. When it broadcasts over the air, it has been rebranded specifically for that market.
Amazing. And so these product lines, are these things that you collaborate, like the FEMA one, right? Were you collaborating with FEMA, or was this like, how was the product thought or invented, right? Was that you guys, or was it a collaborative effort?
It's very much a collaborative effort, not as much with FEMA. So FEMA provided the funding, but it's very collaborative within the PBS organization, there's a group called the PBS Warn Team. I'm trying to think, it's some Alert Response Network. I forget what the W stands for off the top of my head, but basically there's a team within PBS which sort of manages this warn system. And there was one in place previously that we had kind of, its warranty ran out, and they're looking to do some upgrades, and they put a bid out for this, and we'd won the bid. And then that really started ended up being about a year-long process of first going over what all the features will be, and then having eventually even twice weekly meetings with us, my team, the PBS Warn team, of really just going over, making sure that what we were developing was going to meet all the goals that we had determined with the statement of work. And so there's a very back and forth development cycle with the Warn team. And then once we had something we was mostly done, we then worked with them, and we had selected about 12 beta sites, PBS stations around the country, got some units out, started to get some real in the field testing, because a lot of times you'll find out things work great in the lab. But when they get out in the real world, and just there's all kinds of different situations. One thing I didn't realize about PBS, I thought PBS was a single unity which owned all these different TV stations, and it's actually not. Each PBS station is a member station. They're independent, and they just have a membership within PBS to provide different types of content, but they all are independent. So there's a saying within PBS that if you've seen one PBS station, you've seen one PBS station, because they're all very unique. So when you get it out in the field, there may be some equipment that you're interoperating with that you
hadn't seen before, tested.
Or another thing we find a lot of times, anytime we come out with a new product, as engineers, I guess we get a little tunnel vision of we design it how we would use it, and we
Yeah.
test it how we would use it, and always when you get on the field, people are going to do things that you never even imagined, and it's going to end up revealing like, oh yeah, I never realized somebody tried to do that, and then it's kind of we've got to go and fix them. So it's really good to, before we roll out nationwide all the PBS stations, that we go ahead and get it tested at, I think we did like 10, 12 different sites around the country and did some testing there to make sure everything was working solid before we rolled it out. And it's actually been a very big success. It's actually this November, it'll have been deployed for 5 years. And it's great that it's like with all our products, we'd like to, you just want to set it and forget it. Like the old Ronco commercials that, so it's extremely rare that we get any calls on it because it just runs. That's what we like to hear.
The best type of product to have. So talk to me about the vision for D2D going forward. Are you going to continue to build similar type products? I mean, I guess with the engineering chops that you guys have, I'd imagine that there's some exciting things you guys want to tackle.
Yeah, there's definitely some exciting things. We're rolling out some new products this year. For the most part, we've been doing transmission, getting streams from point A to point B. Some of the things we're looking into rolling out this year is what's called encoders, decoders. So actually, from once it gets into camera to encode it, which basically means to compress it down so that it can fit, we can transmit it over the internet. And then once it gets to the other side, to decode it back to a screen. And another thing this will really allow us to do is get into other markets as well. So we're really looking to get into some of the pro AV markets, the professional audio visual, where you're looking at things like digital signage at sporting arenas, education type video conferencing for business. So we're kind of where you're using professional quality video in applications outside of traditional TV broadcasting.
Yeah, well, and that's only going to continue, Steve, to grow. So that's a very, very good area to be in. Video is only going to X from where we're at today. That's there's no doubt about it. Streaming's not going anywhere. It's just going to get bigger and bigger.
No, streaming's actually growing. That's actually kind of one of the things we're trying to branch out because of streaming and things like that. It's actually makes the just traditional TV broadcasting a little more not as solid as has been traditionally. So that's one of the things we're looking to. There's some things which happening which could be, hopefully for the next 3 to 5 years be causing sort of a rebirth of TV broadcasting, and a lot of new things coming down the pipe that we'll be able to do with a new standard coming out. But we also want to kind of branch out and broaden the different markets that we're in as well. So we don't have everything tied to one market.
Right. Always want to diversify, right? As any good leadership team, management team, they're always looking at that, right? So talk to me about the shifts that you've seen in the industry and then how emerging tech is going. Like you already kind of hit on the streaming, but what are some of the other things that you're seeing and what you guys may take advantage of?
Sure. So probably one of the biggest concerns which have sort of come about within TV broadcast in the last 5 to 10 years is streaming. That there's more and more people are cutting the cord. It's probably even becoming more of an issue even in cable, that people are getting, they'll still keep their internet service to do all their Netflix and streaming apps, but they're getting rid of the traditional cable TV channels. And there's similar things too, that just not as many people are watching over-the-air TV. So I do see that one thing, which is good to see. I read reports that the sale of antennas are going up. So there are some people who, when they do cut the cord, they still get an antenna. Because one thing which is nice about free over-the-air TV, if you're wanting to watch the local, say, football team, the clearest picture you're going to see is that over-the-air local TV. If you can tune that local TV station directly, not over cable or streaming, but picking it up off air, that's before it's gone through multiple, it's going to be just much more pristine. Because if you've seen over streaming, they have to compress it, send it off to a studio somewhere, to Netflix, ESPN, then it's got to get turned around and come back. And each time you're doing that, the quality degrades a little bit. But if you're picking it up just right off the air in your local market, it's going to be the best looking picture you're going to get. So there's a lot of people who are kind of keeping their cable internet service for having their streaming channels, but then still use TV antenna to pick up your local stations and get your local news, local sports.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. That's interesting.
So that's one of the things, but that has been a concern in the market, is not as many people are watching TV. But there is a new standard which has come out, ATSC 3. It also goes by NextGen TV. So if you go to your local Best Buy or something here, you'll actually see a lot of the new TVs will have this branding, which will say NextGen TV.
Right.
And that is this new standard I'm talking about. And what's really interesting about that is, so traditionally, and at least for the last 25 years, went back around the turn of the century, year 2000, things went from analog to digital. And when things were digital, everything's transmitted by these small packets, which are very specific to TV broadcasting. But what this new standard does is now everything is using standard internet protocols that your same computer uses. So when it's actually sending stuff over the air, it's actually sending IP packet or internet packets. So the same packet structures which are going through your internet cable to your computer are the same things which are being broadcast over the air with this new standard. So that allows you to do a lot of the different things you can do with streaming to do over the air as well. And also it does a lot of feeding in with most TVs, devices now are going to have an internet connection. So you can actually send things out over the air, broadcast, but still have a return channel over the internet, which allows you to do things like targeted advertising. So you can start getting ads targeted to specifically to you based on kind of what you're viewing, kind of similar to what you have now with streaming, where if you're on YouTube, you're going to get the ads based on what you've been searching for. So you can start doing these sort of personalized ads with TV. Another exciting thing with this new standard, which will allow you to do, is data casting, where one of the real big advantages of broadcasting is its one-to-many architecture. So say you want to update the software on all the cars in New York, and especially as cars become more interconnected, they need their maps updated, just need different software going out to them. And right now, if you wanted to update every car, even if they're connected to the internet, you have to send this update. So say there's 100,000 cars in New York, which needs to get this update. You have to send that update 100,000 times. With broadcast, you just broadcast it once and everybody gets it. So it's much more efficient use of bandwidth. So there's a lot of interesting applications coming out where upgrading Internet of Things devices just in people's homes by using over-the-air broadcasting. There's also a pilot program going on in North Carolina where they're using it to replace first responders' pagers, because there's a lot of just areas where the pagers don't get the signal. So there's a lot of interesting emergency alert data services which can be coming about with this new standard, that's why I was talking about where I think there could be in the next 5 years or so a rebirth in TV broadcasting and really bring it back to the forefront again.
Yeah, well, some of those use cases that people don't think about that you just mentioned, they make perfect sense. And technically, right, it makes more sense to broadcast at once rather than send 100,000 or a million updates out, right?
Right.
So talk to me about some of the other things that you're seeing across the industries that you serve. Are you seeing, an embrace of some of the emerging tech? Are you seeing a hesitancy? Because you kind of have your feet in both sides, right? You're moving to some of the emerging stuff like streaming, and you're also on the trailing edge with some of the broadcast stuff, but that's also coming up and changing. Right. So you're kind of seeing a broad spectrum here of both legacy and cutting edge.
Correct. And so there's been some embrace each year. They're getting more and more stations. One of the things there's a couple things which have slowed things down. One is there's not a mandate; it's voluntary. So when we did the transition from analog to digital, the government mandated everybody must go to digital by this date. So everybody knew what was going to happen. They knew they had to do it. So it was a very clear path. Where up to this point, still this new standard is voluntary. So it's different TV stations, broadcasters have to decide, are these new features worth the cost of upgrading their system? And there has been some talk about possibly sunsetting the current standard, which would help speed up the adoption of the new standard. There's a few other things where there's been some issues with patent issues where some companies claiming patents and wanting sort of so much money per TV set sold. So it has caused some TV manufacturers to, for the time being, pause.
Yeah, not embrace, right?
Creating TVs with the chip in it to pick up this new standard. There's also been a few issues with digital rights management that they're trying to work out. So there's been a few things which have slowed down. So hopefully this will be the year that they finally get those things all ironed out and we can really see this new standard grow and expand into different markets. And what will really be the big thing is once we get a phone which has the chip in it, because then now we're broadcasting to everybody's cell phone.
Yeah. And
And
that's
that
game
actually kind of
changing right
reminds
there.
there's also another complementary, bit alternative solution where there's also some people in the industry which are looking also at 5G broadcasting, of kind of using the same technology already used for telephones, but for actually doing a one-to-many broadcast. So there's some other potential alternatives as well. They'll probably both end up having their different niches of what they'll be good for. So there's a lot of exciting technology, but one of the things which has really um, kind of slowed things down and really kind of makes it a little foggy of, how are things going to go for us over the next 12 months? What do we want to do and, affect our growth is just the regulatory process of, especially with, there's a new administration. So there's a new chair of the FCC and kind of waiting to see what their priority is going to be. Just kind of waiting
Yeah.
for some of these regulatory things of, are they going to sunset the current standard? Will really help crystallize where we need to be focused.
Yeah. No, it makes a lot of sense. A lot of sense. And I know we were talking before, but you had a pretty good, interesting AI story. So
Right.
did
So
you want
that's
to reveal that?
sure. So we're just now starting to kind of dip our toe into the AI water. So one thing from a technology standpoint is this new current, the D2 Flex 4000 actually has a AI core in it. So we're still trying to decide what we're going to do with that. A couple
Yeah.
ideas. We're in digital signage. We hook a camera up to it. We can do things of kind of just watching, being able to kind of determine the demographics of the people who are interacting with, say, a digital signage display and use that to kind of tweak what ads we show on that display, or maybe industrial type applications where the camera can be feeding us assembly line products and it can be searching for quality control. But some of the stuff we've actually just started using, one thing we have found is it can really help a lot with marketing research. We're kind of doing things like we want to talk to all the cable companies this size, this market, and in like 15 seconds, AI gives us a nice list of like, here's who you need to call. And we start calling. So we've found, really help speed up the market research process. But yeah, the funny story I was telling, so myself and my sales guy were kind of talking over this and kind of just playing around with AI, trying to kind of do this marketing research. And at the time, my wife was out of town at a business conference, and I was talking about how when she left, I was telling her that, our cat, Oshi, we're going to have a guy's night and we're going to get on our smoking jackets and we're going to get the cigars and the cognac out. And for doing this, I'm like, I get this idea. And I uploaded a picture of my cat to the AI and said, create an image of this cat in a smoking jacket, smoking a cigar, drinking cognac. And it actually came up with 4 different pictures of different cats, in kind of sort of the dark room, of the library behind them. And just very looking like, we call it the fat cat. And we got a good laugh at it. But then we can actually use this. So one of the things we're doing right now here in Jacksonville is we're working with a broadcaster creating a local channel and wanting to try and run some advertisements to advertise in the channels. Like, this is great. So we went ahead, took these just still ads and added some, just some language to it saying, I'm feeling like a fat cat because I got a banner ad on 94 Vibe. If you'd like one too, contact us here. So we actually took these images, which were created in 10 seconds, slapped a little text on it, and now we're broadcasting these over the air every day here in Jacksonville, asking people, hey, would you like to advertise on our channel? So it's pretty amazing.
Fantastic.
That's saying we haven't even come close to scratching the surface yet of what we're going to be
right. But now you're playing with it, right?
So now it's getting excited. It's like, now do we need to do we need to get a paid account? What else can we do? Can actually start creating actual video for us now and not just a still image? And so we're just kind of playing around with it, but starting to really see the potential, and we'll be using more and more of this as the years go by, I'm sure.
Yeah. And really, it's whatever you can dream of. It's the use cases that you have to come up with, right? But you got to start somewhere, and that's a really cool place to start.
Yeah, so we're excited to see where it goes.
Yeah. So the last question I always have is the growth question, right? So you're thinking about your next 12 months. You're obviously thinking about new product lines and growth, and you've gotten ChatGPT to kind of unlock some good contacts for you, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
But if I could give you a magic wand, hypothetically, and you could fix one thing or use it to get over one hurdle to help you guys grow faster, what would that be?
Oh, well, definitely one thing which comes to mind at the moment, as I said before, is just clearing up the regulatory uncertainty, because it really does have a lot of effect of where do we want to focus our resources. Is ATSC 3 really going to, is this the year it takes off? So we need to be focused a lot on that, or is it still 3-5 years down the road? So we're going to be focused more on the Pro AV digital signage type application. So really having some clarity on the regulatory aspect of broadcasting would be, if I could wave that wand and say, tell us, put it in stone, this is what things are going to be. And then we can, based on that, really focus on where we need to be putting our resources.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and also use ChatGPT to find some more Pro AV type clients.
Definitely. That's, I guess another, wave a magic wand around myself of become an expert in AI overnight and and sort of would really make me just that much more, efficient and effective in getting things done.
Yeah. Well, hopefully some of the resources we send your way can help you speed that up, but in a good way. Steve, so thank you for spending time with us. This has been it's been really enlightening. Every time I get on with someone, I learn every industry is different. Every industry has nuances, and the fact that the way you're navigating these is very, very impressive. So for everybody listening to the podcast, though, tell them again. We'll put all the links below, but tell them how to get in touch with D2D if they want to get involved.
Sure. Probably the easiest way would be go to our website, D2DTechnologies.com, and that's the number 2 in D2D would be the easiest way. And you can actually always, I'm always available at steve.dahl at D2D Technologies, and that's DOLL for Dahl. Be the easiest ways to get in touch with us.
Awesome. And we'll put all those links below the podcast. So for everybody watching, make sure that you guys reach out to Steve and his team. And Steve, again, thank you so much for spending time with us on the podcast.
And thank you. I've really enjoyed being on here, and thank you for having me on. And I really enjoyed it. And looking forward to maybe doing it again sometime.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Well, that wraps up this episode of the Future Proof Podcast. We'll catch you on the next episode. But until then, this is where technology and leaders come together to grow business. Thanks.
Thank you. Have a good day.
If you're ready to embrace change and lead with innovation, be sure to subscribe and never miss an episode. Thanks for tuning in to the Future Proof Podcast.